I had just gotten off school. My parents were still at work, which gave me some time to finally be alone. Being winter, the sun began to set around that time. Instead of working on my homework, I decided to get on my computer and get straight to my video making and AnimalJam fans. If you haven't figured it out, I'm quite a famous jammer, but I'm going to keep my name disclosed for privacy reasons. As I got to work, I opened my recording program and decided to Skype my friend, who is also quite well known in the community, but I'm going to keep her disclosed for privacy reasons also. The reason I Skyped her was, well, to make a collaboration, so to speak. As we both discussed and talked about our days, we finally started to record our antics of AnimalJam. It wasn't very long before we got bored of just running around our dens and trading ridiculous items to troll other jammers. We decided to do an adventure. It might as well spice up the video a bit, right? We decided to go with a current holiday adventure, Jamaladay Rescue. It would spice up our channels for the holiday, as well as get our nerves going for it. Maybe we'll get something better than some stupid Monday rare for once, or something in the shop. I gave an annoyed mumble before starting the recording up once again. After collecting some gifts, I opened some chests, and wandered through the icy maze. After a while, it happened. Well, not anything I was concerned about, particularly. It was just strange coming from a children's game. It was, well, what I thought to be a computerized deer by the name of Darter. His character looked normal on the screen, but once I clicked his speech bubble, his image became disturbed and distorted, with the words slowly typing themselves into his chat. So cold. I didn't know how to react. I mean, there were strange words just typing into this deer's bubble. So finally I asked, "Hey, is the deer by the name of Darter in your adventure saying so cold?" I quickly clicked the small X in the corner of the bubble while talking to my friend about the situation. It didn't close, but instead kept going with slow, agonizing words. So Only then did the bubble finally close, and so did everything else in my computer except the tab that contained the currently running AnimalJam. It maximized itself to full screen. Everything completely stopped. I couldn't even look or use my mouse, like, I don't know. It just wouldn't work. The only things moving now were the animals in the game, which now looked horrified and began to try to run, only to begin to be stopped in their tracks dead. Like, literally. Red pixels seemed to be spread across the white-drawn snow of the adventure, along with the icy maze walls. My own animal, an Arctic fox, having a look of horror on her face as she simply stood and stared at her own fellow codes and animals being destroyed right in front of her pixelated eyes. All I could do was watch. I even tried to turn off my computer with no success. I don't know why, but I couldn't turn my head away. I wanted to see if my own fox could make it out alive from the unseen force that was exploding or slamming animals with inhuman strength against the ice walls, forcing their blood to splatter against its smooth surface. I was horrified. Isn't this a kid's game? That's all I could think while the other characters of my other players just continued to die off. I wanted to look away. Truly I did, but no matter what I did, I just couldn't turn my head away. It was as if some force was holding me there, forcing me to watch these pixelated animals be maimed and mutilated right in front of me. It seemed like hours of just sitting in front of my computer screen before it finally snapped out of the same little corner my fox was trapped in, only to go to a weird bloating screen filled with blood, blue fire, and instead of the normal getting pets groomed or decorating dens, it said, "I will end you myself." I now felt conflicted as to what it meant. It was just a loading screen for a kid's game, right? But it was quite obvious now. I wasn't in the AnimalJam I thought I was. But instead I was in some glitches domain or some hackers, but who perhaps wished to blackmail or scar me for simply gaining the fame I did. Maybe. That's what I hoped anyways. It took a while, but it finally popped up. A dimly lit screen. It was lit with blue-green flames, along with the eyes of the well-known alphas. Their eyes would glow in the dark, but no, they were not attached to the alphas' heads, but instead to spikes in the cold, rocky ground. The gray-blue fur of the familiar alpha, known as Greeley, piercing the corner of the screen as I felt my head spin. Vertigo, perhaps. No. Instead, I blacked out for who knows how long, only to wake up seeing through the eyes of my Arctic fox. How was this even possible? I could only mumble the words through my muzzle? Well, it's not a mouth anymore, that's for sure. I could hear my fox's thoughts and mine. We were connected as one? Two souls inhabiting one body? But how? This was just a pixel, a code in a game, or was it? Turning my now shaking head to the side, I could faintly make out the body of the famous Alpha Cosmo. His brown fur splattered around his body just as much as his blood. What a gruesome sight. That's all I could think. It looked as if they had tried to skin him, but instead of smooth cuts in the skin and bone, it was rugged cuts and claw marks. All I could really do was move forward, because if I moved back, I was stopped by what seemed to be an invisible wall. No doubt the coded barrier of this dark or secret hack, but... Continuing down the bloody cave, the Alpha's dispatched eyes still watched me from their stakes as I continued on my way. I couldn't even make a sound due to how disturbed I was, how deep in thought I was. How was I going to get home, if I even get to go there ever again? I had only saddened myself thinking about it, but trying to keep my awkward head high, I marched on, only to come upon a few, let's call them, corrupt animals. Their eyes were sunken into their heads as a blue flame burned from only one of their eye sockets. The rest of their bodies were mutilated. They looked very much alive, but either had spikes, torture devices, or their jaws hanging by a thread. They would mumble and growl through their distorted holes. Join us, we love you. Don't leave us alone, please. I could only back up from the now closing in corrupts. All I could hear was my thoughts and my Arctic fox's. They were clashing. She thought we were going to die, and I thought the same. They were closing in, their reeking dead breath surrounding us, along with their decaying stench. Their words continuing, now screeching into our ears as one of them reached to grab my front paw. I let out a terrified screech. Finally, before running through the crowd of corrupts, coming out with gashes, claw marks, and a crystal stabbed in between my shoulder blade. I couldn't stop at the end of the corrupts. I had to continue running. The pain in my shoulder slowly easing itself into my back as I now had to run on 3 legs instead of 4. I could see my blood pouring down from my frontal leg and neck as I approached a mound of skulls and rock. The corrupts immediately turned tail and ran back the way they came, as blue fire took light to reveal an unusually large Arctic fox. Her face torn away, revealing a skull of shredded decay. The bat wings she used to carry, now just shreds of bone and decayed meat. She shifted herself to her feet, her hollow sockets lighting aflame with fire as she spotted me. It even seemed like a smirk crawled up her expressionless skeletal face as she peered her head down at me.
I've longed to rid of you.
She breathed through her skeletal face as she pretty much began to slowly climb down the bones of rock.
Oh, you're simply taking up too much of my attention.
Her tail now swishing from side to side in an agitated manner.
This is my game.
She hissed. She was now right behind me. I felt a firm grasp on my jaw, and then a loud, bone-breaking crack. I can't remember what happened after that, but all you need to know is that now I wandered the dark Lich's cave with her corrupted users. My jaw hanging loosely by a thread of muscle and my eyes sunken in from the years of being stuck inside this game. Now the only thing I really care about is the flesh of other animals. No, not protecting it, but eating it.